the one and only, the esteemed Jim Lampley styling on Coast to Coast today. And I got to tell you, it's a thrill to have you on. It's great to see you. I have friends that came to watch you do the segment here. My friends from San Diego who know you from San Diego. And it's just always an honor to run into you here in Vegas at the fights. And great to see you. Thanks for doing the show.
My privilege. Good to see you again.
So I saw your favorite fights of all time here at the Grand Garden Arena. And I've been here for a lot of them. Fred and I have known each other forever. Bruce Binkow. I have gone through a litany with HBO, Showtime, PBC, Premiere, all the fight publicists, you name it. I've seen it all. But I've not done the fights you've done. I've just been here promoting them. You've actually been here calling them and doing everything else. What's it like for you to come back for this great weekend and this anniversary and the special events that are going on this weekend in Vegas?
Listen, it's always exciting and great to be here. I go back to the day when the key bases for the sport in Las Vegas were the Las Vegas Hilton, Caesars Palace, the Mirage, etc. So the whole MGM Grand experience began somewhere in the midst or early middle of my boxing blow-by-blow career, and it was a privilege to call so many meaningful fights here when my beloved publicist Fred Sternberg said, hey, give me a list of your 5 most memorable fights from MGM Grand. I said, you mean 500?
Yeah, right? Like, how hard was that to do it?
It was absurd. And I can still look at the list and say, hey, wait a minute, why did I, but at the end of the day, we could do that with almost any rich experience, and it's been a rich, plentiful, constantly reinforcing fun experience to call great championship fights here at the MGM Grand Garden.
What did you think when you saw your boy Fred get into the Hall of Fame? I was stoked for him. I couldn't be more thrilled. Hanging out in Conestoga. Look at him. He's in the Hall of Fame now. He deserves it.
I was thinking of the fresh-faced college boy that I met back in the Ray Leonard days when he was first getting into this entire enterprise and wondering, well, is this person going to be a lifer in boxing? Some people do it for a little while and fall out, but I think he's having fun, and it was a real thrill to be there at Conestoga and watch him as a part of a great induction class and enjoy it's always a tremendous weekend. You run into a lot of old friends. I was called up impromptu, without any warning, to make an introduction on Friday night to the entire audience of Mickey Ward. I didn't know I was going to be standing up and talking about Mickey Ward, and now all of a sudden, Smitty, Mr. Boxing, calls me up.
Smitty.
Yep, to do an introduction to Mickey Ward, and it was thrilling. It was great, and of course, it was sentimental because Arturo, his spiritual brother,
Gotti.
is gone. You can't look at Mickey without thinking.
I was surprised that I respect your list full on. I don't question your brilliance in boxing, but I would have thought you would have put that at the very least one of the fights, the trilogy, whatever. Just their fights were so amazing.
Well, but we were talking MGM Grand.
Yeah.
The first Gatti-Ward fight is at the Mohegan Sun.
At the Mohegan.
The last
in the woods
fight,
in Connecticut.
The third Gatti-Ward fight is in Atlantic City.
That's true.
So it wasn't part of the experience. I had to pick one of the Barrera Morales fights. And the first one was not here, but the second and third were. It's not an easy list. And the only thing that was easy about it was, what's the single most memorable? The single most memorable for me had to be George Foreman knocking out Michael Moore to become the oldest heavyweight champion at age 45, because at that moment in time, Foreman was our expert commentator on HBO Sports boxing coverage. And I had the opportunity for weeks in advance to pull him aside at fighter meetings and crew meals and other HBO occasions. St. George, how are you going to beat Moore? Holyfield couldn't find him, and he has better feet than you do. He's a southpaw. He's a mover. It's not a good style fight for you. And George had given me this sort of patterned response several times of, Jim, you watch. There's going to come a moment late in the fight when he will come and stand in front of me and let me knock him out. And so hearing that from him and kind of dismissing it and thinking that he doesn't know what he's talking about, da-da-da, and then watching it happen in front of my eyes, nothing is more memorable than that.
So, honestly, when I'm thinking of it, you've done so many fights, and I'm thinking of all the fights everywhere. Like, I'm having flashbacks to the Fan Man fight at Caesars. I was there that night. I was sitting next to Frank DeFord, and he had a big mink coat on with fur around the neck, and I was a young guy, and I'm going, this is crazy that I'm sitting here with this guy, and there's a guy crashing into the ring on a helicopter strapped to his back like I'm watching some kind of television show, like a sci-fi movie.
So my experience is that I'm calling the fight.
I know.
And I'm in the middle of calling blow by blow.
Right.
And I get a voice in my ear, I'm pretty sure it was Ross Greenberg, saying, hey, look, we're tracking something. We're watching something. If you look up in the sky, you might see it, but don't get distracted. Keep calling the fight. We don't know what's going to happen, but it appears there's a guy on some kind of flying machine, and he may be wanting to head toward the ring.
What did you think?
I'm thinking,
what is happening here?
I'm thinking everything is crazy, but this gets crazier, and sure enough, he wanted to come into the ring, and he winds up. And of course, you always have to, in your consciousness in these moments, you have to think about what else is going on, which is of human meaning. He crashes into the same side of the ring where Riddick Bowe's pregnant wife,
she collapsed. I was on the air.
Yeah, and I'm covering that all of a sudden at the same moment that I'm trying to recap what's happening in the fight, what the crowd is doing, who is this crazy person on a flying machine. There are a lot of bizarre moments. And the Bogalata riot is another bizarre moment, but that was as bizarre as any. And then, of course, every fight has a backstory. And the backstory to that one was that Holyfield had called Emmanuel Stewart, my very dear friend, and invited him to come down from Detroit to Houston to ask him to train him in the fight. And Emmanuel goes down, having watched the first fight and thinking to himself, there's no way that Evander can beat Riddick Bowe. He's bigger, he's stronger, he's just as quick, he boxes, et cetera, et cetera. And Bowe takes him out, Evander takes Emmanuel out dancing the first night in Houston. They're both big-time dancers, and they're out in a disco somewhere. And Evander is dancing with one girl, and Emmanuel is dancing with another, and they're facing each other, and suddenly Emmanuel gets this vision, watching Evander dance, and says to himself, this is how we can beat.
I think I can win with this guy.
Yeah.
You excited to watch the young Mr. Davis, who I've always liked. His appeal for me was his availability. A lot of these boxers through the years that I've known in 36 years of doing this here are unapproachable, don't like the media, don't like fans, don't like to do interviews, don't like to do this, don't like to do that. But every time I was around the kid, he was doing interviews at other guys' fights. He'd come to the media center. He'd talk to the media. He'd talk to the fans. He'd take pictures with the fans. He was cool to people. It didn't matter that he wasn't huge yet. Then he got huge and started knocking everyone out, and he's still that guy. I think he's got a little more of a chip. He's got a little more of an attitude. He's had some difficulties out of the ring, probably hardened him a little bit. But I thought that accessibility is what I liked about him, that drew me to him as a fan of his work in the ring.
I think it's a very good point. He's always been relaxed and comfortable with media. He has clearly thought from an early age, whether it's 12, 13, 18, I don't know, but he has clearly believed for a long period of time that he is a star, is going to be treated as a star, people are going to pay attention to what he has to say, and he goes about it with a legitimate purpose, even if sometimes it's, sort of behaviorally flamboyant in keeping with what people expect from a star prize fighter in the current ethos. He's very good. All you need to know about that is 27 knockouts in 29 fights. Unlike a lot of knockout artists who get it done by raining fire and volume on the opponent, he's selective.
Very selective.
He's technical. He's not risk-oriented. He's seeking and
he's waiting for that one to nail him.
The moment. the big moment when he can get you with the one big shot.
Have you ever,
He's got the one big shot.
I've been fascinated because, I've known Floyd forever, and I went to all of his fights basically here, and, he was never a power puncher. He was a counter puncher and a defensive specialist fighting with speed, and he would get his shots in, but they were never overwhelming. For a guy his size, he's little, to have that much power and the ability to find that seam, to land that punch and to knock that many guys out in 29 fights, 27 knockouts. I don't care who you're fighting at that size. That's beyond skill. That's smarts and skill, the whole package.
If there ever comes a moment in boxing when punching power is not something of a mystery, point it out to me, okay? To my way of thinking, I'm now into my 36th, 37th year of covering boxing matches, partially for a living, partially for devotion and fun, partially for living out my heritage from my mother, who sat me down in front of a TV when I was 6 years old and said, watch this, listen to Don Dunphy, you're going to learn about boxing. There's never been a moment during all that period of time when punching power was not something of a mystery to me. Why does this one big, strong, powerful guy have overwhelming punching power, and why does this other one who looks the same way not have it? It's a hard thing to figure out. Tank has it. And he knows he has it.
Right.
And he behaves in such a way as to say, I know I have it. Mayweather knew he didn't have it. You're talking about Floyd? He faced the prospect of trying to sell to the public a style which is not, on the surface, the one most positive platform for selling to the public. And he got over anyway because he was brilliant in terms of understanding where media were going. And I say to everybody, Floyd Mayweather was the first great social media genius.
Right.
He was the first person to understand how these media work and how you can create and cultivate your own audience.
And manipulate it.
And do it with whatever style you are most comfortable with.
So respectfully, I got about 90 seconds, and I know that's not enough time, but you mentioned your mother, and I remember my whole life watching you do sports. And I want to know, so you just said to me that she sat you down and turned you on to Dunphy and boxing, and you had done all these other sports. Do you credit her with you falling in love with boxing and it being your favorite
100%.
broadcast?
My father died when I was 5 years old.
My mom died when I was young.
My mother, when I was 6, put me down in front of a TV to watch Sugar Ray Robinson versus Bobo Olson for the middleweight championship of the world. She said, if your father was still alive, this is what you would be doing. Years later, she drove me to Miami Beach so that I could go to my very first live prize fight, which was Cassius Clay versus Sonny Liston.
Not bad.
February 25, 1964.
Not a bad fight.
Miami Beach Convention Center. I saved lawn mowing and car washing money for months. And those are the two platforms on which I ultimately became a boxing commentator when an executive at ABC Sports who wanted me to force me to leave my contract assigned me to boxing thinking it would embarrass me.
Really? Wrong.
I guess.
Yes, again. Well, you flipped that.
I'm embarrassing myself right now.
No, you flipped the pancake on him. I got to tell you, incredible career. It's fun for me to sit here and talk to you. I've had you on the show over the years, a couple of times. You may not remember me. Maybe you remembered my voice.
People remember you, Scott. You're not forgettable.
It made my day, and I wanted my dear friend to come see you because he's a big fan, and my producers are big fans, and I just admire you so much and think so highly of your career and your brilliance in broadcasting. I always wanted to live up to guys like you, and it's just a special day to see and spend some time with you. Thank you very much for hanging out with us. Enjoy the fights Saturday night. And don't forget, everybody, on payperview.com for the exclusive viewer chat throughout the fight, 8 Eastern on Saturday night. My man, Jim Lampley, the one and only.
Thank you.